Hello YouTube, this is Asatsu5 and today I want to review an audiobook, but not just any audiobook, the NIV Audio Bible Dramatized. Now, let me set the stage. I am extremely dyslexic, like bad dyslexic, like so bad dyslexic that I was in college before I realized that Denman Road wasn't Dead Man's Road. I describe dyslexia as having autocorrect in your brain, and whatever your brain thinks the world is supposed to be, it just autocorrects it into what it thinks it should be. So, reading is a chore for me. So reading is something that I normally have to force myself to do. And I have to be in the mood for reading. The best possible time for me to read is when I'm at the beach, under my canopy, lying out in the water, and I can just enjoy the beach and read. It's peaceful. There's no TV. There's nothing really going on except the beach. That's like my ideal reading location. But even then, reading is difficult, and reading is something that I do not enjoy. I love books. I hate reading. I love the information that's inside books because there's a lot of information in books that you can't get on the internet, believe it or not. And just like there's a lot of information on the internet you can't get on the books, a lot of specialty information is not on the internet like it is in books. So reading is difficult for me. And first off, I want to say that this isn't a discussion on NIV versus ESV versus King James or anything like that. NIV is what I found this dramatized format in, and I'll get more into that later. I own a ESV, I own a King James. I've attempted to read both of them, got discouraged because I was reading it the old way. The ESV, for some reason, seems like I enjoyed how the ESV was written more, but still, in the ESV, I got to Kings before I got discouraged. And it just got very, very discouraging for me because how my reading skills are. I was never forced to read in public school a lot. My reading muscle is extremely weak. My reading muscle is anorexic weak. And so reading is difficult for me. I know I'm saying that a lot. I just want to get that across to you. I can read, just like I know that says NIV, Audio Bible, King James Dramatized, Part 1, Track 45. I just wanted to prove to you that I can read, but reading books is difficult for me. The only novel that I can really claim that I read was 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and there was just a handful of books that I've read cover to cover. I don't even think you could say it's 5 of them, but just a handful. And this Bible enabled me to complete the Bible, which to me is a big deal. And I mentioned that it's dramatized. What does that mean, dramatized? That means it has music, it has sound effects. It means that every person in the Bible has their own voice. That means that if you have multiple people talking in the same paragraph, when you hear Pharaoh, you hear Pharaoh. When you hear Moses, you hear Moses. When Moses is talking, you know when Pharaoh's talking, you know when David's talking, you know when Saul's talking, you know when Jesus is talking, and it's not just because the words are in red. It's because he has his own voice. The voice actor has a specific voice for that person, for Jesus, for David, for Pharaoh. So it's very easy to understand who's talking at the moment, which is something I struggled with. When I read a book like, or any book, and there's more than one person talking, it gets confusing for me. And there's other difficulties I have with reading, but that is a problem I have. When I read, everybody has the same voice. In this audio Bible, everybody has the same voice. That means in the Songs of Solomon, you know when the woman's talking, you know when the man's talking. So this was awesome for me. And it is a little pricey for an audiobook. It costs roughly $60. when my brother was telling me about this audiobook, and I found out it cost $60, I thought, man, $60, that's a lot of money. And then I got to thinking to myself, I spent roughly the same amount of money on Richard Madison's book, Polish Sabre. In Polish Sabre, I do not own a saber. I don't own any Polish weapons. I got this purely as a curiosity item. And if I could spend $60 on a Polish saber fencing manual or treatise, I can surely spend that much money on the Bible, which is significantly more important. I spent the money on this, and I started off from cover to cover. I started off in Genesis, ended in Revelation, and I completed it within a few months. And keep in mind, I wasn't just sitting in my room listening to this all day. To me, the beauty of audiobooks is that you can do it and zone out and not realizing you're zoning out. If I was just listening to this in my room like this, it would be weird for me. But driving, listening to it anytime, instead of listening to music, I listen to the audio Bible. And I mostly listened to it while I was mowing at work, because my earbuds are also earplugs. They isolate noise, and they protect your hearing with still being able to hear what's ever on your phone. So if I get a phone call from the boss and I'm on the mower, I can hear it, which is not something I can say about my radio. So listening to this while I'm mowing, while I'm driving, was awesome. And when I'm mowing, there's not a whole lot of thinking involved, because let's face it, it's a simple job. There's certain things you have to look out for, not busting out windows and such. But when you're mowing a big field, it gets kind of monotonous, and this gave me something productive to think about and comprehend. So I really love this. I don't know if they have it in any other translation in this dramatized format, but NIV is relatively easy to understand. Well, it is easy to understand. There was a few words in there that I didn't recognize. And I have a fairly big vocabulary. I'm not bragging. It's just that I have a very specialized vocabulary. And like I said, thinking back when I read the ESV, I think I enjoyed the ESV more than the NIV. But they're both pretty understandable for modern English, in my opinion. And some people like the King James, and it's very poetic. In how it's written is, pretty much Old English, or not really Old English, but Older English. Yeah. So I don't know if this comes in any other translation, but like I said, everybody has their own voice, those sound effects, those music. It is a movie without the pictures. I guess it's a lot like how the old radio was before TV came around. When they had the TV the radio sitcoms and, Orphan Annie and whatever. How they've had whole stories and productions in the radio format. It's kind of like this, It's a production, but it's audio. So I really enjoy this. Highly, highly recommend it. And I hope you enjoyed the video. I encourage you to buy this if you're a weak reader. If you're not good at reading and you want to finish the Bible, this is what you need. I can honestly say I don't think I'd ever finish the Bible without this, because I'm such a weak reader. And yeah, I can power through it, but I powered through the ESV to Kings before I got discouraged, and I got before it just, I wasn't getting it. I wasn't. The longer I read, the less I comprehend, and the more it is, I'm just skimming words, and it loses its meaning. So this was a blessing to me, and I encourage you, if you have a hard time reading, to buy it. If you don't have a hard time reading, I believe you would enjoy it. But that's it. I'm a Satsu 5, and I'm out.